All right, here we go. So I'm in the circuits class with you guys, and I asked Professor Carruthers if I could just do some quick video here to just kind of talk about like my experience with filters and stuff, because I've talked to a number of engineers while I was studying music, and a lot of them uh, didn't they had the computation and the math skills and stuff to work with filters and design filters, but having kind of an intuition, a simple intuition as to what they do and what the frequency spectrum is and that sort of thing like that. So it doesn't come to everybody. So in case it doesn't make any sense to you, maybe this will clear it up. But filters are used all the time in music and music production. So I thought it might be helpful since I've used them a lot. So uh, I think the initial thing to talk about is is that things can be thought of all sounds, all signals and things like that can be thought of as a culmination or summation of sinusoids. I believe that's Fourier who thought of that initially, uh, and so I can take like a sine wave here, turn on this analyzer, and then we can see it show up on a frequency spectrum. This is kind of like a Bode plot, you might imagine. This is the zero line, and then this is like we have like 20 hertz, 50 hertz, 100 hertz, 200 hertz, and it's lined up logarithmically this way, and then we have decibels uh, going down the side here. Um, so right now I just have a sine wave playing. I don't know, turn it up a little bit here so you can hear it. And this is 100 hertz, and as I move it up, we get new, it shows up somewhere else on the frequency spectrum and stuff. So if we looked at this as like a graph over time, it would look like a much like simpler version of this, where you just see like a sine wave signal going across. But in our case, when we look at it on a frequency graph, it's just one little peg on the graph essentially, and because this is digital, we have some energy kind of curving down the sides here and stuff. But that's different. That's just due to the system I'm using to capture it. Anyway, so things can be thought of as like as a summation of signals and stuff. So if I want to make like a sawtooth signal that goes like straight up and then down and then straight up and then down, and I have it operate at 100, like do that 100 times per second, I could do the same thing by having multiple sine waves mixed together. So we've got 200 hertz, 300 hertz, 400 hertz, 500 hertz, etc. Goes back to where it was. And you can hear the harmonic series here. If we look, so now it kind of sounds like it sounds a lot closer to a sawtooth wave. I'll play an actual sawtooth wave here, but you can see how the harmonic series works here, and it's just kind of tapering down as we go up and up and up. So this is, one times is one octave, and then two times that's an octave and a fifth. Three times, or sorry, two times is the octaves. Three times is the octave and a fifth. Four times is two octaves, so on and so forth. And now we have another octave. Yeah. Anyway, so that's like an approximation of a sawtooth wave. And now I'll play an actual one for you, so you can hear that. Get the spectrum analyzer. Oh, sorry. Let me get rid of this. Okay, cool. So now we can see all the harmonics here. They just go up and on forever. So it's a bit abrasive sounding, but that's what it sounds like. And then we can operate on these things. Let me get this back to where it was. We can operate on these things using filters. So here, we'll apply a low-pass filter to it. We can hear a lot of that. We're basically back to that sine wave again, because I filtered out everything else and I'm boosting up to that point. You can hear those upper harmonics being emphasized by the resonance on this filter here. And then I can do the same thing with a high pass filter, for instance. Now we're only hearing the upper harmonics and only the fundamental frequency. And then we could do a band pass here as well. Just putting two together, like we did in class. Move that around. Just like that. Turn these back off again. You know, in a musical context, you might be, this is not the style of music for it. This is me playing guitar. Might be something like this. Make sure I turn this on. So this is the original recording that I had made. And you can kind of hear, like, and see the frequency spectrum, like the low frequencies from my low string are really dominant because I was super close to the microphone. So, so I can use an EQ essentially to start doing attenuating things like that, and like kind of balance out the signal, so it has a little bit more kind of a flat response in general. So that's a kind of a nice thing to be able to do in music and stuff. Here, so you can hear the different parts of the signal that make up the guitar really emphasized here. Let me make the Q value a lot skinnier. So you can hear now all the individual harmonics that might be present in the signal. Get rid of that, and then we can do things like you might hear like a club mix or something like this. Like sweep down right at the intro of the song. And then like boom, kick drum, something like that. Or you might hear this is like a common thing, like for audio, like sound designers and stuff. They like to do this to make it sound like a really bad radio from like the 1920s or something like that, talking about airplanes. So like these are used quite often for creative pursuits as well as engineering. And so none of that EQ is actually what I would do for this piece and stuff. But I did use I used a different EQ, but because I think it kind of better illustrates the what Professor Carruthers was talking about when he was also talking about how filters influence phase, and that's not something that at least audio engineers forget about. Like the phase impact and stuff like that. When you have like a $30,000 microphone and suddenly you mess up all the phases of the things you recorded and stuff, it kind of just takes all the life out of it and really gets rid of the reason of why you had such a nice microphone in the first place. So you have to be really careful with phase impacts of various filters for that reason. So, but each has their different kinds of filters have their own reasoning behind them. Like I'm using a zero latency, so this has the most impact on phase and stuff, but it's computationally the least expensive on my computer. So you can hear my kind of an actual mix here, just with the EQ. I'll bypass it here, so you can hear the difference. And now if I switch this to linear phase, so this is an EQ that does its best to preserve the phase relationships even after filtering. And you can hear, you might be able to hear that it's a lot crisper if you listen to like kind of the upper like harmonics of the piece, or like the slapping of the strings and things like that. Some of that information gets softened out using a zero latency filter. Some ABA. So it's just kind of useful to know about like what filters can actually do in such a direct and palpable application. So I hope that helps anybody still wondering about like what the frequency spectrum is and why you're making filters in the first place. So, I hope this helps, and I'll send the files over if you guys actually want to A B and listen to the different kinds of phase relationships between the recordings I made, or the bounces through different EQ types that I made. Anyway, have a good one, you guys.